Thank you for joining us here on News Desk on Joy News Multi TV. In our very first story, these are 7 out of the 12 High Court judges implicated in the judicial corruption scandal have been suspended. Now, this follows the establishment of a prima facie case against the implicated judges. Let's get more on this from private legal practitioner Samson Ladi Anyanene, who has also been following the developments in this case. I must add, he joins us now over the telephone. So, Samson, good morning. Thanks for joining us on News Desk.
Good morning.
So we now know that 7 of the 12 judges have actually been suspended. Why not all 12?
7 of them because these are the 7 who have responded to the invitation by the Chief Justice to bring their side of the case, to bring their responses to the petition that was submitted by Anas and the Tiger Eye team. So, as required by law, the President received the petition, forwarded it to the Chief Justice. The law says the Chief Justice ought to make a prima facie case, which is simply to say that the Chief Justice ought to look at the documents available to her and to come to a conclusion whether or not there is a real case for those named to answer. And he did so and sent information to all those involved, apart from 2 who are retired, to bring their responses. 7 have taken their responses there. And so they gave the Chief Justice the opportunity to look at both sides of the coin and to make a determination, and she's done so. 2 others, Justice Logo and Justice Derry, you know they have been in court fighting this. And on the basis of the pendency of the suits that they have filed, they are unable. In fact, the Chief Justice himself has been sued in those suits. So on the basis of that, they have been sort of suspended until the matters have been determined, because they are fighting in court, saying essentially that the material Anas has brought was obtained through an unlawful means and obtained in breach of their rights, fundamental human rights, particularly pursuant to Article 18 of the Constitution, which says that everybody's privacy is protected. They say he invaded their privacy, and also they add that the content of the petition is unlawful and cannot be used for purposes against them. So they have to wait for the issue to be determined. Then it's left with one more judge, Justice Chris. And you understand earlier there were talk about the fact that he had collapsed, he had gone into coma, some stuff like that. So he, because of ill health, that's the reason he has not yet gone through that process.
I see. So what is to happen now that these people have actually been suspended? I mean, I'm talking of these 7. What is to happen now?
Yes, the Constitution says in Article 146, Clause 10, that after the prima facie has been made and a 5-member panel committee, investigative committee, has been set up and the petition referred to them, the Judicial Council, if it deems it fit, shall recommend the suspension of those judges involved, and the President shall go ahead and issue a warrant suspending them. So the President has simply done what the Judicial Council recommended, that they should be suspended. Now, the 5-member investigative committee will now begin the process of investigating the allegations made by the Tiger Eye team against these judges. It is the same process that not long ago myself and my client, Richard Nyama, went through in respect of the Shrag boss, Miss Loretta Lamte, because she is also, according to the Constitution, she enjoys the status of the Superior Court judge, as in a justice of the Court of Appeal. And so that is what has to happen. They now have to go before the committee. They'll be invited. Each of the judges, first, Anas will begin by putting his case out and putting the evidence to the committee. When he's done, He'll be cross-examined by lawyers for those judges, one by one, and then after the cross-examination, those judges will also get into the box, so to speak, and also state their defense. When they are also done, Anas's lawyers will also cross-examine them. When all that is over, the committee will now give its recommendation or its verdict. It will send it back to the Chief Justice. The Chief Justice will now forward the recommendation to the President, and the President will announce the outcome. So
there remains a possibility of these 7 judges who have been suspended being reinstated?
Yes, the Constitution says that as and when it becomes necessary, those suspended, the suspension may be revoked. As we speak, you know that the Shrine Board, for example, was suspended while the process was going. We were going through the process. For 1 year, we went through the process. Now the process has finished. The committee that sat on that, 2 Supreme Court judges, 1 Court of Appeal judge, and 2 persons who are not MPs and who are also not lawyers, according to the Constitution. They sat on the case. They gave their recommendations and submitted it to the Chief Justice. The Justice took it to the President. It is now for the President to tell the whole world what the outcome is. After determining the outcome, if it is the case that the person has been found not to be guilty of the misconduct that has been alleged or the misbehavior that has been alleged, then it is only natural that the President will revoke the suspension and restore the person back to where they are supposed to be.
So, Samson, let me ask, what happens between the period where the investigative committee puts together its report and the time when the verdict is actually passed by the President or whoever the Constitution mandates to do so? What happens between that particular time frame? Are these judges still going to enjoy privileges of being judges?
When you have been suspended, you have been suspended. So you are suspended until otherwise. So that's what it is. That's what it ought to be. So if you go to the court today, you will not see these judges in their court. They will not be in their court because they've been suspended. They cannot go to work. It's just very ordinary, like what happens to you and I in our workplaces. If you are alleged to have misconducted yourself in a way or breached the laws of your company in a way, there ought to be an internal inquiry or disciplinary process. Normally, there will be an interdiction. So you are asked to step aside while the process goes on. And whilst you step aside, of course, you know that you lose some rights, except that you are paid 50% of your salary until the case is over. And if you are found not to have done anything wrong, then your salary that was withheld is restored to you, and then you continue your work as normal. But I think that there is a bigger problem that we may not be paying our attention to. Now, if you go to these judges, their courts, what it means is that they are not sitting, and they obviously would have cases that have been piled up already. So those cases, what happens to them? Well, obviously, they would be distributed among other judges.
I see.
The other judges that they will be distributed among already have their hands full. So we are going to see cases even being delayed further.
Some said on that particular one, could it be coincidental that this particular issue, I mean, I'm talking of the suspension of these 7 judges, comes at a time when we are told that the high courts are actually relocating such that some cases are not even being heard at all?
Oh, the relocation is just going to the new building on Friday.
So it hasn't affected proceedings in any way?
So Monday, work will start effectively. But the courts are working. There are how many high court buildings are being occupied by the circuit court? Just a handful of them.
I see.
So there are a number of several other courts that are still in working. Just a few of them are not working because the circuit courts were asked to go into those courts pending the inauguration of the new building, where those courts where the circuit courts have occupied will move to the new building. So I don't see that being any issue because it doesn't change the circumstance.
Something
remains.
Finally, before you go, finally, before you go, I want to know, how about the other officials that were implicated in this particular scandal? I'm speaking of some members of the police as well as some judicial staff. Do we know what is to happen to them now?
The judicial staff are currently going through the process.
Okay.
They are also going through the process, like you have heard about the lower court judge going through the process of the disciplinary process, investigative disciplinary process. They are also going through the same thing because that is what the law provides, the Judicial Service Act provides. Then
do we know how long it may take? It may take for a verdict to be pronounced on them as well.
Well, it depends. For as long as the committees are able to sit every day, then you can look forward to some speedy action. But even in the case of I want us to use the Shrag matter as an example. In that case, for example, the Chief Justice ordered that the judges should sit almost every day. And yet it took us 1 whole year to be able to finish. Because look, there are those who are fighting, and they will fight as best as they can. One cross-examination can take months to finish.
I see. Samson, many thanks for your time. That was lawyer Samson Ladi Anyanen, who has closely been monitoring developments over the past few weeks since this particular issue broke out, I must say. And the situation is that the latest on that is that 7 High Court judges have actually been suspended following that expose. We'll bring you much more on this as and when we do have that. But moving on to some other stories, and now the president of the Ghana Registered Nurses Association, Kweku Asante Krobia, has described as insensitive the posture of government and some stakeholders in the handling of matters relating to the welfare of nurses in the country. I spoke earlier to my colleague Matilda Pomega.
The Coalition of Unpaid Nurses and Midwives say its members were employed between 2011 and 2015 and have salary arrears covering more than a year for most of them. Some have received only 3 months' payment after working for more than 3 years. The nurses started an indefinite strike action on Monday to get government to address their concerns. The Ghana Registered Nurses Association says it is not happy at the way and manner government is handling the matter. Its president has described as insensitive the posture of government handling the matter.
They are frustrated, and I want the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations to understand their plight, especially the Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations has been so insensitive to their needs, and the minister knows all about the road we have traveled, especially with the case of the psychiatric nurses.
When you say insensitive?
Well, he has been issuing threats that they will get them sacked. I don't know whether he has the capacity to do that. Well, but he can't do that. You know, this is a position he wants to take, arguably, which is on the flip side of things. It does not augur well for industrial peace at all. And he has to rethink the decision. Maybe he's calling for trouble because now the Mother Association is not in agreement with the aggrieved nurses involved on the strike action. But perhaps with the position the Minister of Employment and Labour Relations has taken, this may eventuate.
But looking at this issue,
first of all, the government and the significant stakeholders, ministry, the employer for this matter, must sympathize with the nurses because they have already agreed and accepted the fact that these nurses have a case. So why did you issue threats on them? I think that it has come to a point where they have to understand that from this time going until they receive their unpaid salaries, they have to be given some, they have to show respect to them. They have to accept the fact that government has done wrong. We are not accepting the excuse that bottlenecks in the administrative processes and what they call technical hitches are responsible for this. They are not. the truth has to be told, and if I must use the term in quotes, they have to be pampered.
Meanwhile, the impact of the strike is yet to be felt in some health facilities visited in the capital, as some members of the coalition refuse to join the boycott.
Yeah, we are working. We cannot go on strike. We still have to work. Though it's like we are supposed to be on strike, but if I'm on duty today and I don't go to work, I don't come to work, it's going to create a vacancy. Okay, so in order to fill that vacancy, I have to come. You understand? Because if we are supposed to be 10 people working and only 4 come, then
some hospital officials say they will, as part of interim measures, readjust the night shift, which might get worse should the strike prolong.
Well, still on that particular issue, and the current labor unrest within the health sector seems to have no end in sight, as the striking nurses are determined not to return to the wards until their grievances are addressed. Now, the psychiatric nurses declared a strike last week over government's failure to pay the outstanding salary arrears, I must say. There's been a series of meetings between government and the leadership of the nurses to get them back to their posts. But the impact has been little. Obviously, I must add, yesterday we had our reporter go around and make some checks, and here in Accra, the impact has not really been felt. But joining me in studio now is the spokesperson for the striking psychiatric nurses, Atani Emmanuel, who joins me now in studio to speak some more about this particular issue. Good morning, thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
So, okay, even before we move to other things, let me first and foremost start. For most of your workers that we spoke to yesterday, they are still at post. Could this be because not everyone seems to share in the ideology, the fact that you have to demonstrate or you have to be on strike to get your due?
First and foremost, we have 2 badges involved here. We at the Accra Psychiatric Hospital, we have our own facility, and where your reporters visited at the general hospitals, they are the coalition of unpaid nurses and midwives, and they declared their strike just yesterday. So they started it yesterday, and I'm sure the news is getting to most of the nurses involved, and with time the impact will be felt. But when you go to one facility, that's the Accra Psychiatric Hospital, as I speak to you right now, in a ward where you have 40 to 50 patients that need a minimum of 5 to 6 nurses, you only get 1 or 2 nurses on duty. So when you go to our facility, we are not there at the moment.
Okay, so let's talk about your interaction with government over the past few weeks, and since you embarked on this strike action, what has been the latest communication to you from government?
The last time that we heard anything from the government was somewhere last week Friday, just this past Friday. We met Honorable Haruna Idusu, that's the Minister for Employment and Labour Relations, concerning our issue. And afterwards, he came up publicly that will be paid within this week. So that was what we heard from government side. That was somewhere.
So what you're saying now is the Employment and Labour Relations Minister promised you that your monies were going to be paid to you this week?
Yes, he came up publicly to say that we paid within this week. And later on, one of your sister stations too, we happened to hear from him saying that we, the psychiatrists, are going to be paid today. But as I speak to you now, there's nothing in our pocket. We've not heard anything yet.
The information we have gathered so far is that your money can be paid to you at best by the end of October. Is that some sort of information that has already been communicated to you?
What we heard was for the psychiatric nurses, they'll pay us within this week. But for the other nurses, that is nurses across board, whom the government need to pay their arrears, they'll make sure that they pay them by close of October. But for us, they'll pay us within the week. So the other nurses are going to pay by October ending.
So as it remains now, you are still at home doing virtually nothing?
Yeah, as I speak to you, we are still at home because our landlords are still on our necks. Before coming,
you staying at home doesn't mean your landlord will still not be on your neck. In fact, he will actually have direct access to you. So why don't you just go back to work?
Yes, the issue is he sees me coming to work every day in my uniform, and he keep asking, "You are going to work," and he keep giving me a lot of stories that have not been paid. So what kind of what do you call assurance that I can get that you actually not being paid? So once right now I'm in the house and he knows I'm in the house, at least he has given me some briefing space just to make sure that I put myself.
So is your landlord on your neck?
Of course, as I speak to you, before coming here, my rent happened to expire just somewhere last 2 weeks because I promised him that we had assurance that by September ending we paid, and they can use that one to to pay again for the rent. But it didn't happen. So he was waiting for the money to come. I have to go back again and plead for some extra time. So I'm now in the house with him.
So what you're saying, from what you're saying, I gather that once your monies are paid to you, say by close of week, we should see you at work on Monday.
If I doesn't speak to you, should the money be paid today, we'll go to the bank, we'll cash it, we'll go back to work. Because by that time, we can just call those that we've gone for the loans with, that they should come over. We've gotten the money, and we can go back and settle. So the money is paid, even today, we'll go back to work.
Okay, so you're talking about the fact that now there's some money due you that has not been paid. Okay, so what if these monies are paid to you now, and then subsequent months to follow, your monies are not paid? Are you going to embark on another strike action? What measures have you put in place to ensure that you have consistent flow of money? I mean, your money that you're supposed to get anyway, money you worked for.
I think when we look at the system, if I may take you back a bit, before 2013, all nurses were employed. When your salary is coming, they pay everything in full. So this whole issue started way back, those who were employed from 2013 coming on us. So from that time, when you work for more than 3 months, the government pays 3 months and asks you to go and fill the salary arrears form. Then you are put on the normal salary. So some of us work for close to 1 year before getting our money paid. And they paid only 3 months. So that money that we are looking for. So I think in going forward, they put in some measures that I don't think it will lead to salaries being blocked. Maybe unless there's some technical hitch somewhere. But I think going forward, those things wouldn't happen.
All right. Many thanks for your time, Emmanuel February, spokesperson for the aggrieved psychiatric nurses here in Accra. And well, I'm hoping on Monday we don't have to come back to the same subject matter. But if the situation persists, we would have no option than to speak to you again. But many thanks for your time, and all the best with your landlord as well.
Thank you very much.
On this note, we are taking a break here on News Desk. We'll be back shortly with some more news. Don't go away.